Hello everybody, Ckixy here, and today I finally got around to making a video on my decorative 2x3 lamp door. I don't actually know what to call it, but I guess that's the closest thing I could think of. It's a little bit weird, so basically it uses the pistons to push the iron fences out of the way, and then it has a double piston extender that lowers the stairs that push up on the iron bars. And then you could see, you could just kind of walk through, and it has lamps on either side, and it has it basically has the same thing on both sides, or you could choose to go with just a solid wall instead of having the lamps and the iron bars. And so this was my first design. You could see it's quite big. All I did is I took my single design over there and doubled it, and it just was not efficient at all. So then I moved on to my second one, which was pretty decent and compact, and you can see it opens up at a pretty decent time and it closes back up. The only issue is you could see if you take where this pillar is, and then you could count 2 blocks out, that's how thick it is on this side. And then if you go over here and look at where the pistons are, you could count 2 blocks out. And then if we move on to this design, if you take this pillar, it only goes 1 block out, so I was able to completely shave off a whole entire side there. And then you could also look at where these pistons are, it only comes out 1 block on either side, so I also was able to cut off a whole entire side there. So this design was able to compact it a lot more, and you can see it's just about as fast, or it just won't work at all. Oh, I forgot that button doesn't work. So you can see if I press the button, it goes just about the same speed, and it closes up really fast. Now the biggest issue with this one is, as you saw, this front button doesn't work because the input can only go from this piston or from this redstone here. So there's a few ways around it. You could of course just run a wire, and a lot of people exclude inputs as for compact redstone. They usually don't count inputs because inputs could be wired up whichever way you want. So you can't really have a defined input for a mechanic. But I like to include my inputs as much as I can without having it hinder the size of the machine. So as you saw, this button works here, but this one doesn't. So that's why I moved on to the next designs. So this one is good if you have an external input that you want to put anywhere you want, but if you want a input included on the side of the door, that's where these designs come in. So you can see when I press this button, it will open up just the same, but as you can see, this one is a little bit slower. Unfortunately, the way I designed this door is a little bit different. That uses a whole bunch of mechanics. It uses a T flip-flop bud, a monostable circuit, and a secondary monostable circuit. And this one over here has all those mechanics up here. So it has a monostable circuit going to a T flip-flop basically, and then it's kind of weird. It uses the redstone that activates the lamps to activate a bud which goes down to this block here, and then this block continues the T flip-flop from up there to down here, and this is where the secondary monostable is. So the problem with this one is when you activate it, it takes a long time for the bud to reset, and that is what causes the long delay. So what I did is I was continuing the design of the buttons because I liked the inputs included, and I basically just doubled up on the systems. So I have a T flip-flop up here, and I have a T flip-flop down here. This one, it has the monostable circuit here, and this is the T flip-flop right there, and then the secondary monostable / T flip-flop is here. Instead of having the one T flip-flop activate both the monostable circuit and the other stuff, I basically just turned the secondary monostable circuit into a T flip-flop, and it was able to compact it down. So you can see when I press this button, it activates much faster than the previous one, and then when you close it back up, it closes really fast. So this one is probably just about the same as the design over here, which was the compact fast one. And so I keep forgetting that button doesn't work. So I'm probably going to include this one on a download file and that one on a download file. This one is just kind of an in-between that it's resource friendly, but it's just not efficient whatsoever, so I'm probably not going to include that one. And also, if you're wondering how the power works, because this one requires a torch ladder to activate the top one. Since I doubled up on the mechanisms, they don't rely on each other, so they're completely separate, and that allows me to connect a wire between these two, and then all I have to do is activate the top system and activate the bottom system. The bottom system activates on a bud, so this may or may not work on bucket, not entirely sure, but basically this power line activates this minecart track or booster track, and that updates this bud right here because it's getting diagonal power from this redstone, and then that activates, and that's the input to the monostable circuit. And then all I do is this redstone line goes up into this block, which activates this block here, and that goes up and does a few things. It activates basically a monostable circuit that causes a Minecraft or a piston to drop the redstone block, which causes a T flip-flop. So that's how I'm able to cause the power to go back and forth. And for this one, if you want a external power line, you could take from this block right here. That won't cause any issues. Or you could just put a repeater right there if you don't want any redstone to come backwards into the system. And that's just about how you wire it up. Also, one thing I do want to mention is I keep saying that this is a 2x3 door, but it's actually more like a 2x door, and X can be anything from 1 to 15, because all you have to do is, I made it very nice and simple where it's just sliced right here. So this can, you could add whatever you want to this side. So all you have to do is extend this redstone wire, this one over here, mirror it on this side, and then you have to extend these repeaters here and these torches here, and then of course you'd have to fill it in with all the redstone that is on the other parts, and then you have to put the pistons in, and you could extend this all the way up to 15, because at all the inputs I have a repeater, so it's a full length signal, so it could go all the way up to 15. And you could extend that as much or as far up to 15 as you want. So it could be a 2x3 or as big as you really want. So I did want to say that unfortunately I'm not going to be doing a tutorial on this, or yeah, most likely, because some of the mechanics on them are weird, and most of my tutorials are very nice and short and straight to the point, and it'd be kind of hard to create a tutorial for this because it's a much bigger project than my usual tutorials. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include a map of each of these designs. I'm going to include one for that design and one for this design, and you could just copy it with either World Edit, or you could just copy it by looking at it. It's pretty straightforward if you just look at the mechanics. And also, that's actually how I kind of learned redstone, is I would just copy designs that other redstone builders made, and it helped me learn all the mechanics. So I hope that this helps you learn, and I hope that you like the design, and I think that's about it. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time.